and how it works, let's get on with the coding part. I'm going to cover a few basic programming concepts of JavaScript, and these concepts are quite similar to the C language. So let's get started. So guys, let me tell you that every browser has a JavaScript engine, and we can easily write JavaScript code over here without any editors or tools. So this practice is not meant for real world applications, but I'll just quickly show it to you. All right. Open up your browser, Internet Explorer or Google Chrome will also do, and right click on the page, click on inspect. So this will open up the Chrome's developer page. All right. Now go to console. This is basically the JavaScript console. Now let's see how to run JavaScript on the browser itself. So let me just type a statement and then I'll explain what it does. Now basically this is a statement in JavaScript. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to log this message, hello world, onto the console. All right. So I'm going to log hello world onto the console. That's what this function does. Okay. Now this hello world is enclosed within brackets and within quotation marks. And in JavaScript, we always practice to terminate our statements with a semicolon. Now let's press enter. So here you can see that it's displaying hello world. All right. So this means that JavaScript works on a console. So this is how browsers are embedded with JavaScript engine so that they can run JavaScript code. Now to write JavaScript code, you require a code editor. You can choose from a variety of options like Visual Studio Code, Sublime Text, and so on. But for today's demo, I'll be using the Visual Studio Code, but feel free to use whichever editor you want. Visual Studio Code is basically a simple, lightweighted editor. And guys, I'll leave a link in the description box. If you want to download the Visual Studio Code, you can go ahead and check the description box. All right, so I've already downloaded the Visual Studio Code. Now let's create a folder. Okay, we'll create a new folder to store the code that we'll be executing. So create a new folder. You can name it whatever you like. Now just drag this folder and drop it over here. All right. So here you can see the folder is created. Now we've got the folder open. Let's add a new file, index.html, to this folder. Now you don't need to know HTML to follow this tutorial. I'm just pasting a basic HTML code here. You don't have to care about this code. It's just for creating a simple web page. All right. Now over here, I'm just using a header in order to display JavaScript tutorial. And then within paragraph tags, I'm just displaying with Edureka. All right. You don't need to have a knowledge about HTML for this tutorial. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use this HTML page as a host for our JavaScript code. All right. Now make sure to save the changes. Now open up extensions tab over here. This is the extensions tab. Now search for live server. So guys, I've already installed the live server, but make sure you go ahead and install this right away. Live server is basically a lightweight web server that we're going to use to serve our web application. All right. Install this and restart your Visual Studio Code. Once you open Visual Studio Code, go to your index.html file. Okay. And right click on this, and now you can see this option, open with live server. You're going to get this option only after you install live server, so make sure you do that first. So open with live server. Yeah, you can see this page, the HTML page is over here. Now you can even check the console from here. This is the JavaScript console. All right. So this will just open up your default browser and direct it to this address. All right. Now this address is where our application is served from. Okay, so here you can see the console as well. Now let's write our first JavaScript code. So go back to Visual Studio. Okay. Now guys, let me tell you that there are two ways of adding your JavaScript code in the HTML file. First of all, you need to know that your JavaScript code is always written in the HTML file, or it is at least linked to the HTML file. Okay. So like I said, there are two ways of adding your JavaScript code in the HTML file. Now the first is to use script tags in the body section and type your JavaScript code within this script tag. So let me show you how that's done. Now this is the body section. The body section starts here and it ends here. Okay. So you have to make sure that your script tags are within the body section. Now let's open script tags. Now in the first method, you're going to type your entire JavaScript over here. So within the script tags, you're going to type your entire JavaScript. So let's just type a simple line. So we executed this earlier. Let's just do that. Let's log a message to our console. All right. So let it be hello. We'll see if this works. Guys, don't forget to terminate a statement with a semicolon. All right. Now save the file and open up your browser. Here you can see that it's displayed hello. All right. This means it works. Now let's go and try the second method. Now in real world application, the JavaScript code will have hundreds and thousands of lines, and it is not a good practice to type your entire code over here. All right. So what we can do is we can open up a new file from the Explorer window. All right. Let's go here, open up a new file. Let's name it hello.js. All right. It's a JavaScript file. Now what we'll do is we'll copy this code and let's paste it over here. Now you have to reference this hello.js file in your HTML file. So how do you do that? Okay, so let's add an attribute over here. This attribute is src. All right, src stands for source. Now src equal to, within the quotation marks, we're going to write down the name of the JavaScript file. So hello.js is the name of my JavaScript file. Let's close the tags. Okay, wait, this is opened up again. Okay, yeah, let's close the tags. And this is the second way. So we're basically referencing hello.js from the HTML file. Okay, now let's save the changes here. And now let's check our browser. Yeah, you can see that it's printing hello. So both the methods work. So I hope you understood that there are two ways of adding your JavaScript code to your HTML file. The first way is to write the entire code within script tags. And the second way is to reference a JavaScript file in your HTML file. So guys, I hope you have a brief idea about how JavaScript works and how you can use your browser to run JavaScript. Okay, so now let's get on with our JavaScript fundamentals. I'm going to discuss variables, constants, and a few other concepts over here. Okay, so what are variables? Variable is a name given to a memory location which acts as a container for storing data. Now, what does this mean? Let's say that I want to define a variable called name and I want to store a name in it. Let's say the name is Edureka. Okay, so I'm going to declare a variable called name and I'm going to store Edureka in that variable. So name is the name of the variable and Edureka is the value of this variable. Okay, so what's happening here is a temporary memory location is assigned to the name variable, and this name variable is going to contain a value which is Edureka. Okay, now let's perform this practically so that you understand it better, which is constants. So what are constants? Constants are fixed values that do not change during execution time. Now, there are times when we don't want the value of a variable to change because it might disrupt the whole workflow. In such situations, we make use of constants instead of variables. Okay. Now here you can see the syntax of constants. Now in order to declare a constant, you use the keyword const. All right, you use this keyword. Now let's practically do this and see how it works. All right, so I'm going to create a new file to do this. I'll name it constant. Okay. Now let's declare a variable. So for declaring a constant variable, make sure that you use const keyword. Okay. So I'm declaring a constant variable here. Now let's say it's pi. Okay, I'm going to assign a value to pi, 3.14. Now what happens if you try to change the value of a constant variable? Let's try to do that. Okay, we change the value. Now let's log this to the console. Save the changes and make sure you change the path in the HTML file. So here it's still linked to variable.js. Change it to constant.js if you're creating a new file, that is. All right, now save the changes here as well. Now open up your browser. Here you can see type error assignment to constant variable. All right, this error is because we tried to change the value of the constant variable. It was declared as constant using the value 3.14 and then we try to change it to 3.12. That's why we have the error. So guys, you use constant variables only when you want to keep the value of a certain variable fixed. All right, it cannot change. So that's when you use constants. Okay, I hope you all are clear. Let's get on with our next topic. Okay, primitive data type. Now guys, there are different types of values that you can assign to a variable. All right, now in JavaScript, we have two categories of data types. One is primitive data type and the other is reference data types. Now, primitive data types include numbers, strings, boolean, null, and undefined. Reference data type, on the other hand, includes objects, arrays, and functions. All right. So now let's look at these primitive data types from Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to create a new file again, give it any name you like. All right. So for this, you'll have to define a variable. Now to define a variable, you use the let keyword. This is the name of my variable. Now in this, I'm going to store the value Harry Potter. All right, terminated with a semicolon. So guys, here it's a string because we are using quotation marks. We're enclosing the value within quotation marks. So the computer is going to consider this as a string. So even if I had, let's say if I have something like this, what do you think this is? Do you think this is a string or do you think it is a number? Okay, let's check. All right, now let's log this on our console and see. Let's log age as well as let's log name. Save the changes. Make sure you change the reference over here. All right, so it's constant. Let's change it to primitive. Save the changes here as well. Open up your browser. So it's displaying the two values. Okay, now let's check the type of these variables. Type of age. It's a string. Even though it is 1 over here, it's still a string. Why is that? That is because we enclose this 1 within quotations. So whatever is enclosed within quotations is going to be considered as a string. All right, so we discussed numbers and strings so far. Let's look at Boolean. Let's define a variable called option. Okay, so basically guys, a Boolean is used whenever there is a logical situation or a logic code that needs to be executed. So if a particular condition is met or if a particular condition is true, then the following code will be executed. In such situations, you make use of Boolean. And Boolean can have only two values, true or false. So this is a Boolean. Now the next type of data type is undefined. Now what is undefined? I'll show you. Let's define a variable height. Now let's log both of these variables and we'll see the type of these variables. Okay, so option, then let's also log height. Save your changes, open up your browser. Here you can see true and you can see undefined. Instead of printing anything, it says undefined. Why do you think that is? It's because we've defined height without initializing it at all. So we have not set it to any number or any value. That's why it's undefined. So this is an undefined data type. So if you don't initialize a data type, it's called undefined. Okay. Now the last one is null. Now let me show you an example. All right. So here I'm just defining a variable called iColor and I'm setting it to null. Now we use null whenever we want to explicitly clear the value of a variable. Okay, that's when we use null. So I hope you guys are clear with the primitive data types. Now let's move on to our next topic, arrays. So what are arrays? Arrays are basically used to store multiple values in a single variable. So if you have a list of items, let's say that you went shopping for some art supplies and you got a paintbrush, you got a canvas, you got some palette, you got pencils, and you got spray paint. Now you want to list these down in one variable. Now to understand this better, let's go to Visual Studio Code and let's execute some code. So add a new file called array. I'm going to define an array called shopping. All right. Now in order to define a variable, you'll have to use the let keyword and you'll have to use this square brackets over here. This is how you define an array. Okay. Now square brackets are because you have to store multiple values in an array. So an array is basically used to store multiple values of a single variable. Okay, so shopping is a variable. It has multiple values. Now let's define the values in the shopping variable. So the first value, let's say it's paintbrush. Now I'm going to add a comma and add another value. A comma is needed to separate two values. Okay, let's add color palette, add canvas. Okay. So we have 3 items in our shopping list. Now let's just log this on the console. Save your changes. Make sure you change the path in the HTML file. Array. All right. Save it. Open up your browser. Now here you can see that it's displaying the entire array. Now guys, let me tell you that arrays are numbered from 0. So 0 is the first element, 1 is the second element, 2 is the third element. Even though there are 3 elements in the array, the number of the last element is 2. That's because you start numbering an array from 0. Okay. So guys, now how do you access an array element? Let's say you want to access color palette. You want to display color palette. How are you going to do that? Now, in order to do that, you are going to write the name of the array, and within square brackets, you're going to put the number of the array element. So if you want to display color palette, the number of color palette is 1. So you're going to type 1 over here. Okay. Close the parenthesis, semicolon, enter. See, it displays color palette. So this is how you access array elements. Okay. So if you want to access only one element, then just mention the number of that element and that element will get displayed. Now let's just play a little bit with arrays. Let's define a few other arrays. Let's see what else arrays can do. So let me show you another example. Now I'm defining an array called numbers. So guys, this is how you declare an array. You use the let keyword, name of the array equal to square brackets, and you terminate it with a semicolon. Okay. Now let's add array elements. So I'm going to randomly add some numbers. All right, these are my array elements. Now let's add two numbers and display them on the console. Okay, so how do you do that? So let's add one. Let's add this element and this element. All right, so how do you access this element? You just have to write the name of the array, open square brackets, and write the number of the array. 0 plus numbers at position 1. So you're basically adding 1 and 3. All right, save the changes, go to your browser. Here you can see the answer is 4. All right, now let's try some other thing. Let's try to sort these elements. For that, you use a function called sort. Now sort is a predefined function. So this sort function is going to sort this array. All right, save your changes. Let's look at the log. Yeah. So it's sorting this array in order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Now we know that 6 is missing here. So let's add an element to the array. So how do you add an element to the array? So first you type the name of the array dot push. All right. Now push is a function which pushes an element to the array. All right. Now which element you want to push is going to be written within these parentheses. So 6, let's push. Okay. Now let's check the array. Save your changes, go to your browser. Now there are 7 elements. All right, so you can see 6 over here. Now guys, let me show you another example. Now with arrays in JavaScript, you can have variables with different data types in one array itself. So a single array can have variables with different data types. Let me explain this with an example. So I'm declaring an array called mix. All right. Now let's list out the elements of mix. So first I'm going to list out a string. Okay. Then a number. Then again a string. Okay. Now let's log this to our console and see what happens. Okay. So this is the mix array. So here you can see that it has 4 elements. Let's check the type of the first element. How do you do that? So you write the name of the array, and you open up brackets and you write the number of the array, which is 0. So this is a string, correct? Now similarly, let's check the type of the second element. This is a number. So now we know that within an array we can have variables of different data types. Okay. All right guys, with this we are done with arrays. Now let's look at our next topic. Now our next topic is objects. Now what is an object? An object in JavaScript is a lot like an object in real life. For example, let's consider a girl. Okay. Now this girl has a name, she has an age, she has eye color. Let's say her name is Emily, her age is 15 years old, and she has brown eyes. So what did I just do? I basically declared an object, which was a girl, and I list down her properties, which is her name, her age, and her eye color. So girl is the object, name, age, eye color are her properties. So this is how an object works. Okay. Now what are objects? Objects are variables too, but they contain many values or many properties. Okay. And each property will have some value. Now let's look at this with an example. So guys, I'm going to create a new file called objects. Now, how do you declare an object? So I'm going to declare an object called pen equal to, you're going to use curly brackets to define an object. Okay. As soon as you use these curly brackets, it means that you're creating an object called pen. Okay. And this object can store a lot of properties, and each property will have some type. It's like key value pairs, where key is a property, value is the value of that property. So let's say that this pen has, the first property of the pen is a type. Okay. So I'm going to write ballpoint. Now you separate different properties with a comma. Okay. Now the second property is probably the color, black. All right. Now let's define another property called cost. Now note that over here I haven't enclosed 10 in quotation marks because this is a number, it's not a string. Okay guys, remember that. So guys, also terminate this with a semicolon. Now what did I do here? I created an object called pen. This pen has 3 properties. Okay, the 3 properties are type, color, and cost. Now the property type has the value ballpoint. Similarly, the property color has the value black, and the cost is 10. Okay. So this is how you define an object. So the object is a pen. It has 3 properties and values. What if I wanted to display the cost of this pen? I just want the cost of this pen, not the entire object. Okay, so how do you access an object? Now this is the syntax for accessing an object. Object name dot property name. Okay. Now there is another way of accessing. This is known as the dot notation. And the other way is like this. Object name, you use square brackets within which you write the property name. All right, this is the other way. Now I honestly prefer the dot notation because I feel it's simpler. Okay, so now let's try to display the cost of the pen. Okay, so how do you do that? First you write the object name, which is pen, dot the property name, which is color. Sorry, then the property name, which is cost. Okay. Now I want to display this, so I'm going to put this in the console.log function. I'm going to put this in the console.log statement. All right. Now save the file. Make sure you change the reference in the index.html. So change this to objects. Save this. Open up your browser. Here you can see it's displaying 10. Okay. So that's how you access object properties. Okay. Now let me show you another example of objects. Okay. So now let's define an object called Emily. Okay. Now this object has a few properties. So properties and the value of those properties. Because it's a number, I'm not putting it in quotation marks. Then let's define cool, which is another property. Say she goes to DPS. Then there is class, let's say 10th standard. All right. Now the next property is subjects. Now I have more than one subject. That means I have more than one value to this variable. Now how do I store more than one value in this variable? So guys, do you remember I spoke about arrays? Arrays are used to store multiple values of the same variable. So let's define this as an array. So this is how we define an array. Let's add physics. Now add comma after every value. So physics, then chemistry. Let's add biology. Let's add maths. So don't forget to terminate this over here. Now, I've typed out the wrong spelling for physics. Okay. So guys, let's say I want to display chemistry. How would I do that? So how would I do this? So like I said, first you're going to write the object name dot the name of the property. Name of the property is subjects. Now this is an array element. So in subjects, we're going to access the second element. All right. The number of the second element would be 1. Okay. Now in order to display this, let's put it in this statement. Now save your file, open up Chrome. All right, there is an error. What exactly is the error? Okay guys, so the error is over here. I forgot to put a comma. So after every property, you're supposed to put a comma. So I forgot to put a comma here, and that was the error. Now let's save the file and let's open up our Chrome. So here you can see that it's displaying chemistry. Okay, so that's how it works. With this, we are done with the objects. Let's move on to our next topic. Now, the next topic is functions. Functions are basic building blocks in JavaScript. It is basically a set of statements that perform some task. Now, let's see this with a few examples. Let's go to our Visual Studio Code. Now, let's add a new file. I'm going to name it function.js. So how do you define or declare a function? So in order to declare a function, you have to use the keyword function, space the name of the function. So let's say hello. All right. Now after this, you need to add parentheses. All right. And then curly braces. And within the curly braces, you're going to define the body of the function. Now let's just say that this is just logging some message on the console like hello. All right. Now I've created a function for this. Now let's call this function. So how do you do that? You write the name of the function with the parentheses and then you end it with a semicolon. Okay. Now save the changes. Make sure you add function over here in the HTML file. Save the changes here as well. Now here on the browser, you can see that it's printed hello. Okay. Now what's the point of this function? Let's do something better. Okay. Let's make a better function. Let's say we'll create a function for multiplying two variables. Okay. So let's say that we'll create a function for finding the product of two numbers. Okay. So for that, you use the keyword function. I'm going to name my function product. Now within these parentheses, I'm going to declare two variables. Okay. Now these variables are called parameters. So I'm going to pass two parameters to my function. Now let me get on with it. You'll understand it better. Now what this function is going to return is the product of A and B. So A star B. All right. Now let's call this function. So how do you call a function? Name of the function. And over here, you're going to pass the value to these variables. Now these variables have not been given any value. Here I just define these variables and they're just known as parameters. These variables are known as parameters. Okay. Now let's pass some value to these variables. Let's pass 2 and 6. Okay. End it with a semicolon. Now these values are known as arguments. Okay. So when you call a function, you pass arguments to that function. But when you define a function, you pass parameters to that function. Okay. Let's save this and let's open our console. Wait a second. Yeah, I forgot to print it. Now let's store the product in some variable. Let's define a variable, let's say X. Okay. So I'm storing my product in a variable called X. Now let's log this variable on my console. Save the changes. Go to your browser. Here you can see 12. All right. So this is how you pass functions with different parameters. Okay. Next, we have conditional statements. Now, condition statements are used to perform different actions on different conditions. So if is used to execute a block of code only if the condition is true. Okay. So basically, if a condition is met, then the statements within this block will get executed. This is the syntax of the if statement. So basically, if is a keyword and within brackets, you're going to define the condition. Now, if this condition is met, then this statement is executed or a set of statement is executed. Okay. So this is how it works in the program. When you start the program and when the execution comes to a condition, if the condition is true, the code within the if block gets executed. All right. And it ends there. But if the condition is false, you just exit from the if block. All right. Let's look at this practically. So let's create a new file called if. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to define an array. Now let's add numbers into the array. So randomly you want to add some numbers. Now let's add some condition over here. Now if here I'm going to define the condition, which is number and 0 is equal to number at place 2. Then just display some statement. All right. So let's say correct. Okay. So what is happening here? Now I'm basically defining a condition within the if statement over here. And this is a statement that's going to get executed if this condition is met. So the condition is that the number at location 0, which is this number, if this number is equal to number at location 2, which is this number. So if these two numbers are equal, then it's going to print out correct. All right. Now these equal to sign is used for comparison. So it's used to check the value of this variable and value of this variable. If these two values are the same, then the condition is met. All right. Now let's save the changes we made here. Also remember to go to your HTML file, change the reference to if.js. Okay. Save the changes, go to your browser. Here you can see that it's displaying correct. Now this was the if conditional statement. Now where do I use the else statement? Now else is used to execute a block of code if the same condition is false. Okay, so this is the syntax of if else. So if there's some condition there, if that condition is met, then this statement is executed. Now if this condition is not met, then if you want to do something else, you use the else statement. So when this is false, this will happen. Okay, so instead of exiting, you're going to perform another operation. Let's look at the flow chart. When you're executing the condition, and if the condition is true, you're going to execute the block of code within the if block. Okay. Now, if the condition is false, you're not going to exit. Instead, you're going to execute another block of code, which is in the else if block. Okay. Now, let's look at this practically. Now, within the same file itself, I'm going to show you how this is done. Now, let's define a condition if numbers at this place is equal to, then it's going to print correct. Otherwise, now if this condition is false, then it's going to print this console.log wrong, try again. All right, that's simple. Let's see if this works. Okay, save your file, open up your browser. Okay, there is some problem over here. Let's go back to the code. Okay, my mistake. Save the file, open the browser. Now it should work. Let's just comment this out, otherwise you'll get confused. I'll just write here, this is the if else block, if else example. All right, let me save it, open your browser. See, it says wrong, try again. So this is how the else statement works. All right, now you can even play around with a few other examples. Let me show you a few other examples. Okay, now let's give two conditions within the if block. Okay, now let this be the first condition. So how do you add another condition? You just use the AND operator. Okay, let's add another condition over here. Okay, I'm making a mistake here. The array name is numbers. So I've added two conditions over here. Now only if both of these conditions are met, this statement is going to be executed. Okay, else we are going to, now let's save this. Okay, we'll just comment this out so that you don't get confused. All right, so save the changes, open up your console. Okay, there is some error. So it's basically something I did while naming. So this is an error because I forgot to add an S everywhere. Okay, now I'm saving the changes. This should work. Okay, so it says wrong, try again. Now this is wrong because both of these conditions weren't met. I'm using the AND operator here, so it's compulsory that this condition is true and this condition is true. Okay, so if you use the OR operator here instead, this is the OR operator. Okay, if you use the OR operator here instead, this should work. See, it displays correct. Okay, OR means that even if one of these statements or one of these conditions is true, then this is correct. Okay, so guys, with that we are done with if else statements. Now let's move on to loops. So what are loops? Loops are basically used when you want to run the same code over again each time with a different value. So that's when loops are used. Now loops are of three kinds. There is for loop, there is while loop, and there is do while loop. Okay. Now let's look at each loop one by one. So first we have the while loop. Now what happens here is while basically loops through a block of code as long as the specified condition is true. Okay. So while this condition is true, this loop code is executed. When you execute the condition, and if the condition is true, the conditional code will get executed. Otherwise, if the condition is false, you're just going to end or you're going to exit from the loop. Okay. Now let's look at a practical example of this. So create a new file called while.js. So guys, before moving on to an example, let's discuss the do while loops also. Basically, do while is just a variant of the while loop. Now this loop will execute the code block once before checking if the condition is true. Then it will repeat the loop as long as the condition is true. Okay, so over here you can see the syntax. Within the do loop you have some code. Now this code is executed once, and only after that the condition is checked. Now if the condition is true, then you're going to execute it again, but if the condition is false, you're not going to execute it. But this code is definitely executed at least once. Okay, that's the difference between do while and while. So the loop code is executed at least once in the do while loop. Okay, now let's do this practically. Now let's define a variable I and initialize it to 0. Okay, now within my while loop I'm going to define a condition, which is while I is less than 5, it has to do this. Now the statement here is it has to display this. The number is, and it has to display I. Okay, so plus I, and let's increment the value of I. Okay, now let's save this. Now let's look at the while loop. Now within the while loop, I've defined a condition which says while I is less than 5, it has to perform the following code. First, I've set I to 0. So then I is less than 5, meaning 0 is less than 5. Now this is true, so it's going to execute these two statements. So it's just going to print the number is 0, and then it's going to increment the value of I. So now I will become 1 over here. It'll go back to this loop and it'll check if 1 is less than 5, which is true. So it'll execute these two commands. Similarly, it'll keep going till I is equal to 4. I is equal to 4, it'll execute this. But when I becomes 5, 5 is not less than 5. So this will not be executed. Okay. Now let's just save this and let's change our path in the index.html to while. Save this as well. Open up your browser. See, it prints till number 4. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. It does not print number 5 because 5 is not less than 5. Okay. Now let's do the same thing using the do while loop. Now for the do while loop, first you're going to define the do block. Now over here, let's copy paste this code over here. Okay. Now after the do loop, you're going to put the while condition. Okay. So let's give the condition as I greater than 5. Let's see what happens. Okay. So what is going to happen here is first it's going to execute these two statements. Okay. It's going to print the number is 0 over here because we've initialized I to 0 over here. Okay. Then it's going to increment I to 1. Okay. Then it's going to come out of the loop and then it's going to check the condition. Is 1 greater than 5? Now that is false. So it's going to end over here itself. Okay. Now let's just comment this out so that you don't get confused. Okay. We'll comment this whole thing out. Now save the changes, open up your browser. See, the number is 0. It's printed only once. Okay. Now that's the difference between while and do while loop. Now next we have for loop. Let's look at for loop. So what is for loop? So for loop basically repeatedly executes the loop code while a given condition is true. So it tests the conditions before executing the loop body. Now here you can see the syntax of for loop. Within the for loop, there is a condition which is begin separated with a semicolon. Then there is condition, semicolon, and this step. And then there is loop code. Okay. Now this begin statement is executed one time before the execution of this code block. Okay. So before this loop code is executed, this condition will be executed once. Okay. Now let's look at the syntax for the for loop. Now this for loop has 3 statements within the parentheses. Okay. Now begin is executed one time before the execution of this code. Okay. Now this condition defines a condition for executing this loop code. The next is the step. This is executed every time after the code block has been executed. Okay. So after this is being executed, this is executed. So guys, I know this is sort of confusing. Let's practically do this. You'll understand it better. So now I'm going to create a new file called for. Now let's declare a for loop. So use the keyword for, and then you put the first statement or the first condition, which is I is equal to 0. Okay. Now the next one is I is less than 5. Next one is I plus plus. Make sure you separate these conditions or these statements with a semicolon. Okay, you have to put a semicolon over here. Now open up your loop code. Now within the loop code, just let's perform the same thing that we did in the while loop. All right. So the number is, oh, we've actually forgotten to declare I over here. So let's declare I first. Let I, so yeah, I've declared I over here. So guys, you don't have to declare it over here specifically. You can do that, of course, but you can just declare I over here itself. Let I is equal to 0. You're initializing I and you're declaring it. Okay. So what happens here is first I is equal to 0. You're defining a variable I and you're initializing it to 0. Once you initialize I to 0, it's going to execute this statement once. Okay. So it's going to execute this statement once. After that, it'll go to this condition. Is I less than 5? Is 0 less than 5? Which is true, so it's going to execute this statement. Okay, now after this is executed, it's going to execute this third statement, which is I plus plus. Okay, so the value of I is going to become 1, and the same thing is going to happen again and again. Let me explain this one more time. So first, you're initializing I to 0. When you execute the first statement, this code block is executed once. All right, after this, it checks this condition: is I less than 5? If the condition and only if the condition is true, this statement will get executed. Now, after this statement is executed, this third statement over here will get executed. All right. I hope that is clear. Let's save the changes and let's also change the reference over here. All right. Save the changes here as well. Yeah, here you can see that it's displaying it 5 times. Okay. So that is how for loop works. Okay. Now you can do a lot of things with for loop. So let's say that your teacher has punished you because you talk too much in class and she's asked you to write I'm sorry 50 times. So can you use for loop to do that? Well, you can definitely use for loop to do that. Let's try and see how that works. Okay. Now we're going to do the same thing. Set I to 0. Then I is less than 50. Well, only if your teacher is kind enough, she'll ask you to write it 50 times. Otherwise, 100 times is the minimum. All right, now within the code block, let's log this message. Okay, so first we're going to, I'm sorry, and let's put a smiley as well. Okay, so I made a mistake over here. Okay, so this is how it works. Let's save this code and let's comment this out. Okay, now let's check our browser. So you can see that I'm sorry is displayed so many times. So guys, that's a simple hack. With this, we complete our for loop. Now the last topic of discussion is switch cases. So switch statements are used to perform different actions based on different conditions. Okay. Now how does switch statement work? Now here you can see that this is a syntax. Now after the switch, there is an expression and there are few cases: case 1, case 2, case 3, and default, and so on. Okay. Whenever case 1 is true, the code block 1 will get executed. Similarly, if case 2 is true, code block 3 will get executed. Now, how does this work? Now, what happens is the expression within this switch statement is executed once. Okay. After that, the value of the expression is compared with the value of each of these cases. Okay. So this is the value of the cases. This expression is compared with the value of the cases. So if there is a match, this block will get executed. So basically, the value of the expression is compared with the value of the cases. So if there is a match, then the associated block will be executed. So if the value of this expression and the value of this case is the same, then this code block will be executed. Okay. Let's try this with an example. So let's create a new file called switch. Okay. Let me type out the code and then you'll understand what I'm saying. Okay. Okay, so that's a long code, but this is very simple. Now what I've done here is I've defined a variable called games and the value of that variable is football. Okay, now I'm passing this variable into the switch statement. So basically the value of games is football over here. Now, if the value of this expression matches with any case, then that block will get executed. Now, here the value of games is football, correct? So you're going to look for football. Now, the case over here is football. So basically, this is going to get executed. Okay, now let's just save and let's run the code. You'll understand what I'm talking about. So guys, make sure to change the reference over here. Save it and let's check the logs. See, it prints I love football. So why did it do this exactly? Now, it did this because the value of this expression matched with this case. Okay, because it matched with this case, the statement within that case got executed. Okay, now if I change the value to foosball, okay, let's see what happens. We'll save it. It says I like other games. Now this was the default statement. Now this default statement is executed whenever this expression does not match with any case. Okay, because I'm not given foosball anywhere over here, it executes the default statement. So this is how the switch statement works. So guys, with this we come to the end of today's tutorial. I hope you all enjoyed performing the demo with me. If you have any questions or queries regarding this demo or regarding any topic in this demo, please leave them in the comment box and we'll get back to you with the answers at the earliest. So guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. Have a great day.
I hope you have enjoyed listening to this video. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries, and we will reply them at the earliest. Do look out for more videos in our playlist and subscribe to Edureka channel to learn more. Happy learning!